Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a Force Palm Lucario team that I threw together in the Great League that I ended up going crazy positive with. Now, an important word of warning before we get into the battles, I don't think this is a particularly strong team. Sometimes you're just looking to have fun in the Go Battle League and throw a few months together, and it ends up working a lot better than it ever should have. So I don't know if this team's success will be repeatable, but the team is as follows. Force Palm Lucario as the lead, Furret as the safe switch, and Fearow as the closer. So it's a team that's ABA weak to fighting, pretty soft to Florges and Dene as well, but somehow we were able to make it work. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1, we're off to a pretty explosive start as we've got a battle of steel types, Lucario into Jirachi. My Force Palms are doing a ton of neutral damage, but look at those confusions. My Lucario has almost been entirely farmed down. I know I win charge attack priority, so I shield and go for the Aura Sphere, and my opponent is going to make a nice catch and a sneak onto their Florges. Now, I don't have a clean answer to Florges on this team, so I'm just going to send out Fearow. Fearow is going to be debuffed by Chilling Water, but I will get to massively overfarm because Fearow wins the charge attack priority tie over Florges. So I get to overfarm quite a bit, and even at -1, Drill Peck will easily be knocking out that Florges. My opponent is going to send in their own Fearow, and this could get tricky. I'm debuffed, which means my Drill Peck is not nearly as threatening as it typically would be. It looks like they're going to go for a 1 shield farm down, and Fearow energy is absolutely terrifying. Fearow now 2 off the back-to-back. In comes Furret, and we get what should be a game-winning catch onto Lucario. Opponent threw at the double up. Getting that catch should put us in a position to win. I think I actually got denied when I brought back in the Furret, so that's a little bit unfortunate to see. The good news is it's not going to affect the game outcome, because Jirachi is only going to get to 1 move, and the Fearow, it has 4 pecks, but you need 5 pecks of energy to make a Drill Peck. So after the farm down, I can fire off the Swift knocks out the Fearow, and we're able to take the game 1 win. Hopping into game number 2, and we see an unbelievably good lead, Lucario into Steelix. It's a Dragon Tail Steelix as well. I haven't really seen any Dragon Tail Steelix up until now, as basically if you're running Steelix, you're running the old moveset, which is Thunderfang. These Force Palms are absolutely criminal. I'm going to be putting up the shield as Steelix did have a lot of energy, but they end up going for a Psychic Fangs and then safe switching into Araquanid. Unfortunately for the Araquanid, it is not a particularly safe swap as out comes Fearow, and Drill Peck is absolutely devastating. Even though they will get quite a lot of damage on me with the Water Pulse, I'm going to get a farm down with the Fearow, and I'm going to exit with a lot of energy. Part of why I like Fearow so much is not only does it handle the ghost types that Lucario would struggle against, but its energy goes everywhere into Pokemon not named Corviknight. I decide to get aggressive, pivoting back into the Lucario, knowing that even if it's a Mud Slapper in the back, a Mud Slapper would still not like Aura Sphere. That's not a Mud Slapper, but it is going to be Unova Stunfisk, and Stunfisk is going to get smacked around by the Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere lands, they're forced to throw energy because I was almost at another Aura Sphere, and now Furret will be able to clean up this game, as Furret will just very comfortably close things out. My opponent ends up overfarming and playing to the CMP tie that they do not win, but even if they didn't do that, the game was already over because the Steelix was just simply too low. We move to game number 3, and it's a very bad lead leading Lucario into Toedscruel. I'm going to look to safe switch out, but I accidentally missed the button, and that forces an overtap, so I throw a Force Palm before switching. That's definitely not ideal, as that's damage that I would rather not take on the Lucario. Opponent no shields the Swift, and then out comes Bastiodon. Bastiodon, I'm definitely happy to bait it out, because Smackdowns would do criminal damage to the Fearow, but I'm just going to stay in with the Furret because my switch timer's not up and do as much damage as I can. Ramping up my damage more and more with the Trailblazes, my opponent throws energy, and I'm hoping this is 3 Force Palm range. If it is, they're not going to get another move. In comes Lucario, look at the Force Palms go, and we exit with so much energy. Back in comes the Toedscruel. Toedscruel gets the Mud Slap through as I full send the Aura Sphere, and now it's Fearow time. In the back is a Thunderfang Steelix. That's the moveset I expect when I see Steelix, but I'm up energy and I'm up a shield. Let's let Fearow go to work. Fearow going to be immediately debuffed with Psychic Fangs, but I see the win con, and the win con is to not shield a Psychic Fangs. Now I put my opponent in an impossible spot. If they end up shielding, then they have no shield to protect against an Aura Sphere. But if they end up no shielding, I get a bunch of Pecks, and now I can force palm down a Mud Slapper with Lucario and take the win. So we shield the wrap, force palm takes the knockout, and despite a terrible lead, we're able to claw our way back and get the win. Speaking of terrible leads, there's another unfortunate lead in the next match, leading into Corviknight. This entire team loses to Corviknight. However, Force Palm does do a lot of damage, so my plan here is basically just to play zeros and then look to pivot into the Furret. Because if I can get some chip damage onto the Corviknight, then suddenly that's not a problem. So I safe switch into the Furret, they respond with Credilli, and so far my opponent is pretty strong into the Fearow. Trailblaze will land, ramping up my attack, but my opponent gets to immediately put my attack right back down to normal with a well-timed Rock Tomb. However, being up energy in this matchup is so nice for the Furret because I get to ramp up my damage before they debuff me, so I will get a few Sucker Punches of boosted damage. They'll be able to take the knockout, but this looks like prime Fearow farm to me. So I bring in the Fearow in the back. Oh no, it's Shadow Dust Noir. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Dream lead in the next match, Lucario into Abomasnow. Opponent safe switches into a Sea King. Oh my goodness, the spice. You absolutely love to see it. Thunder Punch will guarantee a shield, and now I get to send in the Furret. Furret more than happy to get debuffed twice by Icy Wind, as Icy Wind plus the Pecks are just simply not going to be enough to threaten a knockout. So I'm just going to look to overfarm as much as I possibly can. Ideally, I would love to try and get Furret as low as possible, so I'm going to overfarm quite a bit, and then look to buff up my attack from -2 to -1 with the Trailblaze. The unfortunate thing is I think I'm basically in a perfect health range to where I can't make it to a second Swift. And if that's the case, as I unfortunately forgot to turn off my alarm, so I had to turn off the alarm mid-battle, that's going to make things a little bit problematic. What could also make things problematic is a Spark Lantern in the back, but I don't think Lantern's going to like Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere does quite a lot of damage, so it forces them to put up the shield, and look at these Force Palms. Oh my goodness, this damage is mental. I get to a second Aura Sphere. This is going to be good night to the fish. Down goes Lantern, back in comes the Abomasnow, and I switch in the Fearow because I would have got farmed down. If I get KO'd here, I lose. Weather Ball lands, Fearow hangs on, gets the Peck down. You absolutely love to see it. What a game. Unfortunately, we are back to the Corviknight leads in the next match. Corviknight into Lucario. Exact same game plan for me, as I want to no-shield the Air Cutter to hopefully incentivize them to no-shield, land a Thunder Punch, and then send out the Furret, as that worked very well last time. But unfortunately, this opponent puts up a shield. Now there's going to be a very healthy Corviknight, and that could be a problem. I'm not going to be shielding the Furret. I really like shields to go to either the Lucario or the Fearow. My opponent actually brings in their own Furret to my Furret. So this works out pretty nicely, as I'm so far ahead that I can go for a Trailblaze into a boosted Swift. While this will not knock out, Furret's very, very bulky, so getting big damage on Furret is a definite plus. Furret's going to return fire here. They go for the Trailblaze, switch timers up, in comes the Fearow, Fearow snipes down, and now I'm up on energy. Back in comes the Corviknight. Corviknight did save some energy from earlier, and they're going to go for the Air Cutter. Air Cutter lands, and I'm in a bit of an awkward spot where I don't really want to throw until I can peck it into Drill Peck range. So I shield up the Air Cutter, and I continue the farm. They get the boost. I'm now going to go for the Drill Peck. I'm hoping this is going to be enough to knock out. Drill Peck is going to connect. Corviknight barely hangs on in the back. It's Shadow Marowak, and the Mud Slapper is about to have a truly atrocious day. Drill Peck lands devastating damage onto the Marowak, and there's more where that came from. Drill Peck number 2 is going to grab the shield. Opponent, they're farming up, and they're finally going to throw energy. I will use the final shield of the match here on Fearow and just throw the Drill Peck because I need this Marowak gone. They still have the Corviknight, but it's exceedingly low, so I send in the Lucario, Force Palm them down, and we're able to take the win. Oh, we've got a fighter on the lead in the next match, Lucario into Pangoro. But luckily for me, this is a fighter that is very weak to fighting, and these Force Palms are absolutely deleting the Panda Bear. They go for the Night Slash, they will not get another move, and now I exit up a ton of energy. In comes Fearow, and I don't think Fearow's gonna like what comes next. Thunder Punch is gonna connect, huge damage. I bank an Aura Sphere, snipe with the Furret, and in the back is Shadow Scizor. Now, the best play for me is just to go for the Trailblaze. My opponent still has 2 shields to hide behind, so the best thing I can do is just ramp up my fast move damage with the Furret. So I get that boost, and now I'm going to be shielding back because these boosted Sucker Punches are just going to remove basically their entire HP. They will make the Night Slash. I'm going to be able to take the knockout, so I will have to reveal my final Pokemon, but 2 pecks from Fearow will be game over. Lucario into Shadow Alolan Ninetales in the next match. I assume it's going to be on Powder Snow. They're going to save switch into Feraligatr. I farm up quite a bit of energy on the Lucario before I send in Furret. Furret, going to be no shielding Hydro Cannon. Furret can survive 2 Hydro Cannons, but not super well, so I decide to put up the shield. I do want to prioritize switch advantage, as I'm assuming they are on the Powder Snow, because if they're on Powder Snow, then obviously that'd be really bad for the Fearow, so I don't want to concede switch. Swift lands, so my opponent is actually going to give up switch advantage, which is nice, and they bring back in the Alolan Ninetales. It is the Powder Snow that I was worried about, so I'm happy that I shielded, and now I really have to hope that it's a Mud Slapper in the back or a Ghost that Fearow can sweep with. In the back, oh, I cannot win this game. It's the Dene. I clicked Thunder Punch. I should have just clicked Aura Sphere, as Aura Sphere obviously would do substantially more damage. I was expecting them to shield, so a bit of a throw by me, but either way, I was not beating the Dene in that endgame, as Fearow just had nowhere to run. Great lead in the next match as I lead into yet another Abomasnow. Looks like leaderboard people really liking the Abomasnow plus Water Core today. I get to bank a ton of energy on Lucario and send in the Furret. Furret no shields the Hydro. Because they're Shadow, I should actually be able to take a knockout here with the Swift. Swift does get shielded, and that works out for me because look at the Sucker Punches. My opponent tries to go for the CMP tie, but I'm always just going to go for a farm down because that Sucker Punch KOs. They do not get to a 3rd Hydro Cannon, and now when Abomasnow enters the field, Abomasnow is going to be in for a bit of a rough time. As I'm able to reach 1 Swift, that does big damage. I get to a 2nd Swift as well, and now the Abomasnow is basically just going to get knocked out. The Abomasnow hangs on 1 HP. In the back is a Azumarill, and this could get a little bit tricky. I am feeling pretty confident, though, is that as long as I save the shield for Lucario, I should be okay. So, in comes Fearow. Drill Peck is going to land. My opponent will now go for the Ice Beam, and I'll have to see, can I make it to another Drill Peck after this? The Ice Beam is going to land. I'm not going to risk it. So I end up sending out the Lucario. Lucario firing off Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is going to be shielded. The thing to watch for will be a potential Abomasnow snipe. I know Abomasnow has a move, and these bubbles might put me into Weather Ball range. So I farm up a ton of energy, go for the Thunder Punch. There's the switch into the Abomasnow, but they're low enough that Thunder Punch will knock them out. Azu's still 1 off the move, so they bring in the Azumarill, and I get to Thunder Punch number 2. So bit of a scary endgame there. Lucario does not like bubble damage, but we're able to escape with the win. Lucario into Florges in the next match, so this is a very bad lead, as obviously Lucario and the Furret are not going to do particularly well here. Lucario going to get outpaced as I did not throw on alignment, so I decided to bank that energy for later and send in the Furret. Furret going to be debuffed as well, so already this Florges has inflicted massive damage onto my entire team, and now out comes Corviknight. This is already one of Furret's worst meta matchups. Add to that the fact that I am at an attack debuff thanks to that Florges, and things are looking exceedingly dire. I'm just firing off whatever Swifts they'll let me get to in an attempt to do any kind of meaningful damage to the Corviknight. The Corviknight will throw the payback before I get my next Swift and take the knockout. In comes Lucario. I stored energy from earlier, and now I get to use it here. Thunder Punch is going to get the shield, and now it's time. Fearow hits the field. In the back, oh, it's Carbink. Unfortunately, there was no way I was ever winning that game, so I'm just going to save everyone time and resign the match. Picking up a very bad lead in the next match, Lucario into Dusknoir. Furret save switch, opponent stays in for a while with the Dusknoir and then brings out Steelix. Steelix is a very nice Pokemon to bait out here. It would obviously be very bad for the Fearow, and they're behind on energy by quite a bit. They did farm up to a crunch, if I'm not mistaken, so I will respect it with a shield. Unfortunately, I do get baited with the Psychic Fangs. That's definitely not ideal. Trailblaze is going to be no shielded, and just like that, Furret is able to win switch. They cannot afford to bring in the Dusknoir, so they bring in their 3rd, so they had a very good check to the Furret, but they must have thought it was a Wigglytuff bait out, so they end up bringing in the Steelix, and that's going to cost them. As now I have switch advantage, they switch into Dusknoir, and the reveal, it's Fearow in the back. Now, Fearow takes a ton of damage from Shadow Dynamic Punch. The important thing for me is just getting as much peck damage as possible, because if I get knocked out, I'm going to have to force palm this Pokemon down. I throw the Drill Peck just to get the shield. Opponent is going to be under tapping as they fire off Dynamic. Can Fearow hang on? It's going to be close. Fearow hangs on, gets the simultaneous knockout. All that's left is the Wigglytuff in the back, and my opponent will resign the match. Hopping into the final match, and it's a dream lead. Lucario into Credilli. They save switch into Blastoise, and out comes Furret. Furret is going to do great in this matchup. Blastoise has farmed up a ton of energy. Blastoise lands the Hydro Cannon. That is going to hurt, and I'm going to go for the Trailblaze. Trailblaze won't knock out here, so they will have enough for the Hydro Cannon, so they can throw it, but they decide to throw the rollout. They do not get the Hydro Cannon, and my opponent is going to immediately resign the match. I guess I'll never know what they had in back, but my guess is it might have been something that was core broken by the Lucario. All in all, I actually had an absolute blast today with my sets. I kind of just wanted to run something fun and tank Elo, so I decided to put Lucario on the team. This is a team that has a great many weaknesses, so as I mentioned at the start, I don't think this is a team that I would recommend for those who want to gain Elo. I more so just ran it as kind of a laugh because the Great League's back. I figured I may as well run something fun and try and have some fun along the way. The team won way more than it ever should have. I definitely got lucky that I didn't see anything like an Annihilate, as an Annihilate would obviously be a very unfortunate Pokemon to encounter. But I think the idea of having a fighter and then 2 ghost resists behind it is actually a pretty intriguing way to design a team in this current meta. Because currently the best way, or the most common way that people are trying to beat fighters is with ghosts. As if you have a ghost, you have the double resistance and you're in a pretty nice spot. So having 2 Pokemon in the back that can support that by just double resisting ghost and in general just making ghost life as miserable as possible. I think even if it's not necessarily Lucario that's used as the lead, I think this is a team composition structure that could actually work for quite a few different teams. So overall, I had a ton of fun. Lucario, my goodness, it is frail. It's very rare that you encounter a Pokemon that can just straight up outright win Charge Attack priority over Shadow Scizor, but this is one of them. Lucario is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the 145 range for attack. So it's a rare Pokemon that can actually win Charge Attack priority over Scizor. Unfortunately, I didn't see any Scizor. It was one of the Pokemon that I was targeting with the Lucario, as obviously Bullet Punch, Night Slash, and Trailblaze wouldn't be doing much, and the Force Palms would be criminal amounts of damage. So I didn't really see any Scizor, but I did end up seeing quite a few Pokemon that didn't want to see the Lucario. So overall, I'd call it a pretty successful day of battles. I think I went 10-5 or 11-4 with this team. Again, I do want to caution, I don't recommend others try this team as like this will fix your elo or this will gain you elo, because I don't think the results are repeatable. It was probably just a flash in the pan team that worked for a few sets and probably won't continue to work again, but I felt it was a really cool team and I really enjoyed seeing Lucario taking names in the Open Great League. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.